Good morning and welcome. My name is Sussex Sandra and today I am bringing another wear test of a foundation that has been recently launched, and it is by Bobbi Brown. So this one here, this is the package, and it is the Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation. This foundation comes in something like 30 shades. It's quite a few shades, so hello Tarte. And it is supposedly a sort of full cover oil-free foundation, so you know that's right up my street. In the UK it costs £31 and it says it has an SPF of 15. So I am going to be wearing this one today. I'm going to be giving it a decent wear test today of at least sort of 6-7 hours at least. But before I do that, let me read a little bit of information about the product. So let's have a quick look and see what we got here. Right, so as I said, it is something like, yes, 30 shades. 30 shades, there you go, have a look. And they've got a good mixture of light, fair, medium, tan and deep skin shades. So all good, we're happy with that. £31 in the UK, and what it says about it, it says it is a 16-hour wear full coverage foundation with a natural multi-dimensional matte finish that's comfortable, breathable and weightless. All controlling actives and skin true pigments. Incredibly smooth and blendable, it glides on with a second skin feel and multi-dimensional matte finish. Pigments are precisely balanced through artistry, expertise to skin's top tones and undertones to deliver the most natural looking shade range for all skin tones. So it says all day wear, tried and tested on extreme heat and humidity. This 16-hour wear formula is waterproof and sweat and humidity resistant. Flexible coverage, won't crease or streak and stays colour true. Instantly conceals redness, discoloration and pores with a full yet natural coverage. Then it says it has a comfortable second skin feel, and it's paraben free, sulfate free, phthalate free, sulfite free, vegan friendly and gluten free, dermatologist tested, non-acnegenic. I have already put on my primer, so I use 2 primers today, so my double priming thing. So this one is a primer. I got this as a sample when I ordered the product online. It is, I can't remember what it's called now. It's called a vitamin enriched face base. So it's supposed to be a primer as well. I thought it was just a moisturizer, but it's actually a primer as well. So I actually put that on first, concentrating more on my forehead because that's been getting a little bit more normal skinned now, and just around the perimeter of my face. And I just put a little bit along here, but not much. So I concentrated mainly on the perimeter of my face, and then I put on my normal Becca Evermatte Poreless primer, which is my holy grail everyday primer, and that really does hold back my oils. For those of you who don't know, I have got extremely oily skin. Even though I am in my late 40s, I go against what all the beauty cosmetics companies say. They say as you get older, your skin gets drier. Nah, mine has just remained oily forever. So I have got very oily skin. I have got some open pores along here, but yeah, and I've got hyperpigmentation and some discoloration along here. Actually, I'm not going to be putting on any concealer, but I am going to put on a colour corrector, which I did buy several years ago from Bobbi Brown. It's this little product here, and it's called a corrector, and I've got it in the colour Deep Peach. So I'm going to put some of this on just around my dark areas, so under my eyes, around my lower part of my face. So just do a little bit of that now. Right. Personally, I don't think that was Deep Peach enough. Look at the colour. I think it needs to be more of a deeper colour for me, but this is the one that was recommended by the girl in the Bobbi Brown shop when I bought this several years ago. I'm just going to use a Laura Mercier loose translucent setting powder just to set my face. Okay, so time to apply the foundation. So glass bottle, which is nice, and it has a pump. I did squirt a little bit out on my hands yesterday just to see what the colour was like, because I'm always very anxious to see what the colours are like. So I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand here. Just 2 pumps, so you get a good amount in a pump. That's the colour, and you can see that it's quite neutral. Oh, I didn't tell you what the colour was. The colour I'm wearing today is Cool Almond 7.25. Okay, and that's what it looks like on the back of my hand. Let's put this on my face. So I'm going to use a sponge today, a blending sponge. This sponge is actually from Pure Cosmetics. I got it with one of the foundations I tried last year. Can't remember what it was called. I think it might have been the most recent launched one they had, and the colour was a pretty poor match. Okay, this foundation is very neutral. It's actually very cool. This actually might be a little bit too cool for my colouring actually, but I have got a bronzing powder so I can warm it up. Let's just see what the coverage is like and how it dries down for now. Okay, the actual colour is, it's like my skin when I'm looking a little bit ill or when I've got powder on it. So you can see the colour, it does lack a little bit of warmth. So when they say cool, they actually do mean cool, which is very unusual. Maybe I wonder if I should have got the warm almond. Okay, so that's one layer on my face, and I think you can see that it's actually, it's a good finish. It looks like it's a medium to full buildable coverage, and that's just with 2 pumps on each side of my face. The colour, the shade is a perfect description. So they said it was a cool almond, so undertones, and they're right, it's actually perfect in this description. I actually wonder if I need a warmer colouring, but I'm a bit scared because I did get the warm almond in the foundation stick, and that actually turned out a little bit too red undertone. So I have got a bronzing powder here. It's actually what I'm using as a mirror today, so it's this one here. So I'm hoping that that might just add some warmth to my face. So I'm going to put another layer of the foundation on, and then I'll try warming up my skin afterwards. So bear with me, please. Right, there we go. So I've put on an extra pump over my face, another pump and a half all over my face. So I think in total I put on about 4.5 pumps on my face. No, 5.5 pumps on my face. I've got a big face obviously, and this is the kind of coverage I need because I have got a lot of discoloration and hyperpigmentation on my face. But this is the kind of coverage I like. I really like the finish. It is definitely a natural matte finish. It dries down fairly quickly, but you can still blend it. You have got time to blend it out and work with it. The coverage, yeah, it's a really nice coverage. I'm looking at the colour compared to my chest. If I lower it down for you so you can see. So I don't know if you can see, if I zoom you out a bit so you can see, the colour looks a little bit warm compared to my chest, so you might be able to see that my chest is actually very cool yellow undertoned. But I'm more than happy with this. I don't really want to go more cooler than this, and I'm certainly not going to go a lighter shade. I actually like it. It looks good. I like the finish. It's nice. Yeah, it feels very comfortable. I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Bare Pro foundation, which is actually one of my favourite foundations of last year. It very much reminds me of that. It's a very light finish as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to set my face now and finish the rest of my makeup, and I'm going to put some of this bronzing powder on it. I've actually got some other products which I got from Bobbi Brown as well, so I'm going to apply some of those on, and I'll put those products on camera so you can see what I'm putting on. I actually bought 3 lipsticks as well. So the lip colours I bought was Rich Cocoa, and the shade looks like this. So that's a good colour. Might wear that one today. Also bought a colour called Chocolate, which looks like this. So that's the colour Chocolate. and I also bought a colour called Raisin. So I think I am going to put on the Rich Cocoa colour today. Also got a lip gloss. This is going back a few years. I might put a little bit of this on, and this colour is called Chocolate Raspberry. Just put a little bit on. The finished look, I actually think it looks okay. The foundation has dried down beautifully. It feels very comfortable. Very happy with this. So time now is 9:25. So I'll do my usual. I'll wear the foundation for about 6-7 hours, and then I'll come back to you and give you an idea of my final thoughts of the foundation. And I'll be using my system called TOPS, and I'll try to remember to go right through the TOPS system this time. TOPS stands for Transfer, All Control, Performance, Price and the shade range. Alright, so I'll see you a bit later in the day. Have a good day. Bye. Hi, welcome back. It's Monday evening and I have just had a full day of wearing the foundation I was testing out today. Now, I honestly don't know what to say about this foundation. I've had an absolutely horrendous day with it. I really don't know what's gone wrong, and I have the feeling that it's gonna be me, not the foundation. So I'm actually in a bit of a quandary about what to do about this. I don't know if I should do my final thoughts on this foundation or do another day. Now, the reason why I say that, and I think it's best if I bring you in closer so you can see the issues I've had today. So I'm going to bring you in closer now. Right, so the issues I've had today is that the foundation properly melted and separated all over my face, and I have no idea why this occurred. I really do not know why. The foundation was melting on my forehead up here. I've taken some pictures during the day and I'll put those here of what it looks like about, let me think what time it was. It was about 11 o'clock. So I'd only been wearing the foundation about 2.5 hours at this point, and the foundation was already looking like shit basically on my face. So here are the pictures. You can see that I had this kind of crescent shaped mark here, basically where the foundation had melted. It started to get all dry and cakey all along here, and it looked like I had just put on way too much makeup. The reason why I'm in a quandary about how this foundation has performed today, I think it was something I did, and I think where I went wrong today is that the finishing powder that I used was by Makeup Forever, the Pro Finish powder. So let me get that for you. Here it is. It's this powder. I think it was this that kind of was just too much for the product, and it literally was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So it's this powder here, which is actually quite red undertoned. I don't really use it that often, but I thought, you know, whilst I was taking out the Bare Minerals products, I thought, oh, let me take this out as well, and I'll use this as a finishing powder today instead of my usual setting powders, which would be the Laura Mercier loose translucent powder or the Sacha Buttercup powder. I think my problems originate with this. I don't think it's the primer, because it's primers that I always use. Well, one of them was. I normally use the primer, which is the Becca Evermatte Poreless primer. I never have any problems with this primer. This is my holy grail. I've been using it for years. So it's not this. The first primer that I put on, which was the moisturising primer, but I thought I'd use this primer today from Bobbi Brown, and it's one that came as a freebie in the stuff that I purchased, and it is called the Vitamin Enriched Face Base. So it's a primer and it's moisturising. I couldn't see this being a problem, because when I was putting it on my face, it felt nice. It felt like a nice moisturising, it felt like a moisturiser, and then it sort of dried down to a nice natural, almost matte finish with a little bit of tack. So it felt like a decent primer. It felt very much like the Fenty primer. So it shouldn't have been this, and plus it's a Bobbi Brown product, so it should work well with all the other Bobbi Brown products. And then I put my Becca River matte primer over these areas here, my usual areas, so my upper cheeks, my nose, and along here, like a mask. So it shouldn't have been that. So I think where my fault was is putting this on. So I am very tempted to wear the foundation again tomorrow, do another test, and just use my normal Laura Mercier setting powder and then my normal setting spray on top. I tell you what, I'm going to do the review based on today, and then I am going to come back tomorrow and do a second day review and score it then as well. Then I can see if it was an issue with the product I used on top, the finishing powder I used. So let me do that. Right. Okay, so when I do my reviews, I always use a blotting sheet, and I use a blotting sheet to look at the transfer and I look at the oil control. So my system of reviewing is called TOPS. So the T stands for transfer, the O stands for oil control, to see how well the foundation absorbs my oils. The first P stands for performance. So if the foundation melted, faded and separated. The second P stands for price, so is it good value for the product? And the S stands for shade selection. So let's do this. So first of all, I use my blotting sheets. Good foundations tend to use say 2 to 3, sort of 2.5 sheets of these blotting sheets. Bad foundations for me, for my oily skin, tend to use 4 to 5 of these. So let's do this. So sheet number 1, I'm going to be looking at how much oil is on it and how much foundation gets transferred. And I must say that I spent several times during the day, I have been trying to fix this foundation. So I have used various powders to try and fix it and cover up the mess on my face, because it really was awful how it was looking at one point. It really looked bad. Okay, so look, this is one sheet and there's hardly any oil on that. Now I don't think this is given a fair representation of what was happening today, because as I said, I had to really blot and powder my face and just do all sorts of stuff, and I used a blotting sheet a couple of times during the day just to try and fix my face, because it looked really bad. I mean really bad. So I think I'm only going to get one sheet here, and what we're getting here is a little bit of oil and a little bit of transfer. I'm just going to base it on my experience today. Transfer, the foundation was transferring, so if I'm going to give that a score out of 10, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, because it was a bit of transfer but it wasn't much. For oil control, it wasn't fantastic because I was really breaking out in a lot of oil, so it was really bad today. I mean really bad. But once I blotted my face and fixed my powder and tried to cover up all these marks and things on my face, it didn't look too bad. And again, going by this doesn't look too bad either, but trust me, it looked really horrendous earlier on today. So for oil control, I'm going to give this a 4. That's based on my first stage try. Okay. For performance, it was crap. I just can't tell you how bad it was. It melted all across here. It was horrible. It was literally just melting and separating. There was like my natural skin colour was underneath. It was just a mess all around here, my forehead. It was just horrible. All along my cheeks, it just looked nasty. Completely faded along here, along the side of my cheeks here. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to bring you in so you can really see. But all along my cheeks here, it's completely faded off down there. Really nasty. All along my mouth here. I mean, I don't normally see laugh lines. I'm calling them laugh lines. I'm not going to call them anything else. But I was getting all life lines down here. It was creasing down here. I never get creasing, but it was creasing along here. It was doing all kinds of strange sort of blotted stuff, and it just looked really speckled and weird around on my lower mouth. And you can see all the separation along here as well, and look under here, you see all this along here. I mean, this looks horrendous. Look, it was really nasty under my eyes. It weren't good. I mean, this is after me just trying to correct it and powder and sort of do things out, but during the day it looked really, really bad. So I think for performance, I'm not even going to give it a 1. I'm going to give it a 0. It was awful, absolutely awful. Let me bring you back out. Okay, so performance on day one, as I said, 0. For price, well, it's £31. I mean, if I'm going by my experience today, so I've got a bit of hair here. Yeah, if I'm going by my experience today, the price is just not worth it. I mean, I don't know what went wrong. It was just horrendous. I mean, it's £31 this foundation in the UK. That is not good. So this is really irritating me. Yeah, £31 is just not worth it at all. So based on today's experience, £31, way too much money. So again, I'm just going to give this a 1 out of 10 because it's just too much money for what it is. You know, I've got £3, £4 foundations that perform better than this. I'm thinking about the Primark and the Ordinary coverage. They perform better than that. But that's based on today. And don't forget, this is winter. We're in the middle of winter here. So the temperature today was, I don't think it got above 6 degrees centigrade where I am and where I was working. I didn't go into any hot kitchen, so it wasn't like I was breaking out in a sweat or anything like that. This foundation was just shit on my skin. It really was horrible. I was embarrassed and I kept on having to run to the toilet because I could feel it melting and separating on my face. It was awful. So yeah, I'm just going to give it performance 0, price 1. Shade selection is excellent. That's the only good thing. The shade selection is excellent. So for shade, I'm going to give it a well, it's 30 shades, so I'm just going to give it a 10 out of 10 because the shade selection is good because they've got all different undertones as well. Good evening and welcome. This is day 2 of my Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation trial. So if you remember, yesterday I wore the foundation for about, I think it was about 7 hours yesterday, and I had an absolutely awful time with the foundation. I put it down to the fact that I did 2 things wrong yesterday. The first thing I did wrong, this is in my opinion, was number 1, I used a primer from Bobbi Brown, and it's this one. It's called Vitamin Enriched Face Base. So this is what it's called. Hope you can see that. So yeah, I put this on. It came as a free sample in the Bobbi Brown products I bought over the weekend. So I put this on as my primary primer, my first primer, because you know I do the double primer, and it was actually very moisturising. It felt okay, but it felt very moisturising. And then I did my Evermatte Poreless primer in my usual areas along my nose and my upper cheek area. The second thing that I did wrong was that the finishing powder I used, or my setting powder, instead of using my normal, which is the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Powder, or the Sacha Buttercup setting powder, I used the Makeup Forever Pro Finish powder, and those are 2 things I used yesterday, which was different from what I normally do. The result was, after 7 hours, the foundation was a complete and utter mess on my face. I was so embarrassed and humiliated yesterday in wearing it. It was just awful. So this morning I did my usual double primer. So I did my Fenty Soft Matte Filter Radiant Primer. Can't remember what it's called, but I used that first all over my face. And then my second primer was the Becca Evermatte Poreless Primer, which I put in my usual areas, along my nose and my upper cheeks in the area there. So I did that, and then I set my face with the powder. I put the foundation on top, and then I set it again with the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose setting powder. Okay, today I've been wearing the foundation since about 8:45 this morning, and I literally only come home. I haven't got my mobile phone with me, so I can't show you my phone app. Hopefully I can show you this. I'll take the watch off, it's much easier. But it's 6:20. There you go. It's 6:20, and I've been wearing the foundation for nearly 10 hours today. Big difference, because I think if you remember yesterday I gave the performance of the foundation a 0. I think I gave it a 0. I gave some very low scores yesterday, and I think my scoring today is going to be completely different because I wore the foundation how I normally prepare it. So using my normal system, I use tops, which is the transfer, the oil, the performance, the price and the shade selection. So this time for transfer, and oil. I'll use my blotting sheets again, and let's do this. And if I remember yesterday, I had to blot during the day because my face was such a mess yesterday. I had to blot and powder and do all sorts of things to try and make my face look semi-decent. So let's do this. So this is sheet 1. Look at that, sheet 1. And I haven't blotted once today. Sheet 1. No foundation on that at all, just pure oil. I think I can actually use it again. So one of the things the foundation says is that it is sweat resistant, heat, humidity resistant, I think they say. Alright, so we've got a little bit of foundation there in the centre, but it's mainly oil. So that's sheet 1. Just going on to sheet 2. Sheet 2, so that's oil again, just a little bit of oil and a little bit of foundation there. What a difference a day makes. It just shows right primer makes a big difference, particularly for us oily skinned girls. Right, let's have a look at my face and see. Wow, that looks so much better. What a difference. Still quite a bit of fading up here though. Just looking up here. Let me bring you in closer so you can see. So still quite a bit of fading up there. I hope you can see that clearly. So that's still the same. A little bit of fading under my eyes. And what I did notice during the day was down here faded quite quickly. Around here, around my mouth, which was really weird. I've never had that experience before. But I noticed this area was quite dark this morning, probably mid-morning. So it was about 2-3 hours in the day, and I noticed, oh, that's unusual. So that was there. And then around the rest of my face just seems to be normal wear, really. So 2 areas of concern up here, and a little bit around my nose, upper cheeks, and this side around my mouth. So transfer, there wasn't that much on the paper, and didn't notice anything on any papers or sheets or anything like that today at all. So there was, I mean, I have to say there was hardly any transfer at all. So I think for transfer I am now going to give it 9.75. Big difference. Performance wise, there is some fading. None of that melting separating from yesterday, but definitely some fading, particularly here. And as I said, it did fade quite a bit, considerably around here. And I don't know why it faded so quickly, so early, down on my lower part of my face this morning and around my eyes. So I think for performance, it's going to get a lower score than 10, but it's not going to get a 0. So for performance, I am going to give it a 6 because it applied very easily, gave me a nice natural finish. I really liked the finish. It felt very comfortable to wear. Just the wear up here, but then don't forget I've been wearing this foundation for 10 hours and it's a 16-hour foundation, and I have got very oily skin. So I think a 6.5 out of 10 is fair. Price, well, I've said about the price, it's expensive, it's £31, but now that I've seen the performance and I've done the right application, I think price, I'm going to give it a better score because it is £31. So it's comparable to stuff like the more expensive than the Fenty Pro Filter. The Huda is about the same sort of price. I can't remember exactly how much that costs. I didn't like the Huda foundation at all. I've wore it a few times now. The foundation this reminds me of is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro liquid foundation. So and that cost £29, so it's only £2 difference. So I think for price and the market that this is in, the price range and the style of makeup, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10 because it's a fair price for what it is. Shade selection is excellent. There's 30 shades in the range, all different undertones from very fair to very deep. It's all good with the undertones as well of the foundations. So I think for shade selections I'm going to give it a 10. Have no idea what the final score is there because you know I never can add this, but I will put the score up on the screen along here somewhere or along there somewhere. But I think I've given it a better trial wear test today, and I think the score now is much better. Would I recommend this foundation for oily skinned people? Definitely. Very comfortable foundation, very light feeling, one that can be worn in the summer as well because it does feel light, especially if you're looking for, you know, in the summer we don't want anything that feels heavy. So I think it's definitely a summer foundation, comfortable for the winter. I'd say this is a very good everyday foundation. would you want to wear this in the evening? Depends on the look you want. Usually when I go out in the evenings, I want something a little bit more heavier, a little bit more glam, just a bit more pow. So I tend to go for my things like my SLO, the double wear, my MAC Studio Fix for evening makeup. But I think this foundation for everyday, perfect, absolutely perfect. The foundations I've been reaching for in the daytime have been the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Liquid Foundation and the Fenty Pro Filter Foundation. They're the ones I've been reaching for mainly in the daytime, but this is one I'm going to be reaching for as well. Alright, well I hope that helped. Please let me know what you think if you're going to be trying out this foundation. I'd recommend it. It's something worth trying out, but get yourself a couple of samples first to make sure you shade match yourself. But it's a foundation I would definitely recommend, and watch out for the primer that you put on, because obviously you saw what I went through yesterday. I've never had that experience before where my primers haven't worked. But in saying that though, I've never used this primer before, so this primer is going to be thrown, or I might give it to my sister because she's got more dry skin, but it ain't for me. I'll just stick to my mattifying primers in the future. Right, take care and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.